This is the Action CS dashboard. Right up here is your alarm status currently. So if one of the alarms from the camera goes into alarm, it's going to show right here what alarm on our device has went off. It should go to a triggered state. The rule engine right here will show you the active status of any rule that's going off and where it's at and why it's being triggered. Heartbeat config will show you what your current Action CS heartbeat is set to. This shows you your time, your version number. We have the ability to put down a camera feed right here, so you can hook this up to the camera it's connected up to. It will give you a live 1 frame a second. It has your TTS, it has your live PA. If I expand it right here, it would show my image right here. It's going to show my quick patterns that I have, TTS or live PA right on there. Quick triggers I will come back to in a minute. The live PA, you could talk right from here. TTS, I could type a message and it will send it over to the unit. If it has internet connectivity, it's going to use Google's voice to actually transmit the TTS. If it's on a locked network, it's going to use its on-bed robotic TTS voice. Move down to network devices and settings. Right here is where you could set the name of the device. It will appear up top and on the login page. Your IPs right here. Here's where you configure your snapshot. Your network services that are on there, OnVIF, REST API, and system logging. The API would need to be enabled for you to run any of the API commands. Anything that has this little emblem right here will give you an ability to see what an API you could run on it is. Or you could always go down to the onboard user guide that's sitting right down here. It has a full user manual with everything that's going on, as well as your API with examples, what can be edited, what cannot be edited, example ones, direct URL examples, and everything you need to know to trigger the API. This manual is 100% searchable, so you can start typing in a specific topic and it will show you the integrations right here that it is what that one is in. Also up on the thing, if you click the help button, it will show you that page's help for that type of scenario. You have your ping watchdog right here. You could point this at a firewall or anything like that it will allow you to either reset the network card or reboot the system in the event that it loses connectivity over your failure threshold and your ping intervals. We do support Radius 802.1x as well as advanced VLAN tagging. However, the onboard switch that's in it does not currently support VLAN tagging, so it would need a cable ran directly to the audio card in order to support this. Under integrations, we have our MQTT broker settings, so we can connect to either public or private MQTT servers and accept commands. We have our SMTP settings. We'll go over this later, but you'd configure this like any other SMTP server. You could add your group emails separated by commas. You have your endpoints right here for outbound webhooks. You can specify all that. This is the global alert templates, so you can edit these to actually change the email body or the webhook body if you wanted some other information in there. You have your SIP and UCAS configuration. By default, when this is on, it's in peer-to-peer mode. However, you could go over to your UCAS provider. We have tested this with Dialpad on UCAS, so this will connect up to UCAS providers. You just have to get the settings for your specific UCAS provider or SIP provider. Hardware on I/O, this is where you could change the status of the alarm. So we support normally open, normally closed, digital high, and digital low, depending on what your camera does. By default, these are all set to normally open on any system that would come out of the box. On your time and location right here, you could sync the time zone to your computer, and it also is running an NTP server right down there. So if I sync this to my computer, I'll save the time zone for here, save the date and time, and it's going to sync itself up to the NTP server to make sure it's at the exact right time for that particular thing. Audio settings. This is your main audio mixer. You could change the volume settings for each of your different things that you're actually utilizing. Here's all your available audio files that it comes preloaded with. You could add more as you want. If the volume is not loud enough for your particular environment, you are able to increase the gain on the file itself and apply it and save it for future use. It will be a one-time apply, and then it will alter the gain of that file permanently. You're also able to utilize the TTS studio right here, so you could actually create any messages you want, preview it in the browser, and then save it to your library for your rules or other things. This will also, on the web mic, you could record directly into the microphone and save those audio files to your library as well for rule use and trigger patterns and such. Under the engine config, we do have the ability to utilize the cloud engine or the onboard robotic one. The cloud engine will always fall back to the onboard in the event that it does not have internet connection and it cannot reach it. You have your premium cloud voices right here. If you input a Google API key, it's free to build and you get 1 million characters free a month, but you do need to put a credit card in. Once that API is in there, it will unlock the ultra realistic neutral voices from Google. You also have your system override down here that you could change the color that it shows when each one of these things is used. So if you use TTS, it's going to play the police color. If you use the live talk down, currently it's going to play police, but you can change that to a construction alarm if you wanted to. And then you have your on-VIF camera pattern talk down. That's all going to be saved underneath those ones. You can just save your LED patterns and it's going to go that way forward. Security right here. This is where you can add users to the system. You can also add your own HTTPS certificate so you don't get the error message in the event that you have one. Pretty self-explanatory there. So your announcements right here. Actually, I'm going to go right to schedule. So your schedule right here, you could build a schedule and we could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be 8 to 5 Monday, 7 days a week. So I can go right to here and go 8 to 5. I'm going to just name it 8 to 5. And it's going to save that. Now this is going to be available in your announcements, your heartbeats, and your rules. So we'll go to announcements. And if I want to add an announcement, this is an idle announcement that is going to play every X amount of minutes that you specify right here at this volume is specify in a sequential order or random shuffled. Now, like I said, you could play it during your time period or you could play it 24/7. It's completely up to you. Any of the messages that are loaded over on this side of the pool are going to be your active messages. You could save that pool and it's going to play those messages during your 5-minute period, or you could say every 60 minutes I want to play that message. These are completely up to you. They could be marketing, they could be security alert, letting people know this area is monitored, however you really want it to say. You have your heartbeats right here. So on the heartbeats, we give you a bunch of predefined options. You also have your action alert options hidden and your live preview down here. In the event that you want to edit one of these ones, you could easily click on here, click a different color, change that to red however you want. You could add a pause, you could add a color, you could do whatever you want to those, and it's going to give it a DIY modified, and it's going to show you exactly how it's going to look right there. We have this temporary rainbow injection. If this is enabled, you could have it cycle through the LEDs every so often up to your specification, just to put an end to the monotony and the pattern and make people pay attention to the light if you so choose. Like before, you could have this heartbeat during certain hours and off during other hours, or different heartbeats during one time of the day and a different one during a different time of the day. It is completely up to you and completely customizable. Down here under trigger patterns, you're going to have we can add a pattern. This would be the static pattern that they would show while the unit is, these would be static patterns that would show up on the dashboard or in the rules. So I'm not going to do audio on this one, and I want to play the police lights. So if I save that, it's going to flash the police lights, but it's not going to play any audio. If I go up back on my dashboard, if I click right here, it's going to automatically send a request down to the unit to play those lights, or I could add it into a rule right here. Underneath the rules, I'm going to name my rule. I have my rule status right here, which is enabled or disabled. If it's life safety, so you could hook this up to a fire alarm or to a gunshot detection type scenario where this needs to take priority over any other rule, any active SIP call, any background audio, anything. It's going to give this the highest priority on the system. You could do it on your regular rules too, but it would kill any guard calls or any of that other kind of stuff. So you need to be aware of this. We then have our runaway protection right here. So this is completely customizable by you. All these digits can be what you determine is the best for your customer, or your customer determines is the best for them. But in the temp demo state right here, if I receive 100 triggers within 60 minutes from the alarm, or if my alarm is held on stuck for 60 minutes, then I'm going to shut it off for 1 hour. Once that hour comes back on, it's going to re-enable my rule. And then I'm going to start an 8-hour timer. If this scenario happens again and it triggers my anti-spam again, then it's going to shut it off for 24 hours. When this is set into a shut-off mode, it's going to flash the unit red, so you know that the unit is in a alarm state and there's something wrong with the analytics, and you need to go look at what's going on and why it triggered the anti-spam, anti-runaway lockout. Like before, you could have certain rules during certain schedules. That's completely up to you. You have your ability to select your input. Our board has 2 alarm inputs on it. So whatever alarm input is hooked up to your camera is going to be the one you select here. Or if you're doing API triggers or webhooks, you're going to select it via the post API trigger. And it will show you in the API documentation down below how to actually specify which trigger that you're trying to trigger. You have multiple ways for your outbound stuff. You have your relay out, which is going to trigger the onboard relay. You have your single pattern, which you could also trigger the onboard relay on this one, and so forth. Right here, this initial delay is how long after the alarm goes off on the camera do you want to play the first message. So if you want your intrusion detection to start the alarm right away and you want it to wait 30 seconds before our device triggers, you have that ability. Right here is where you specify what your pattern is, and the cooldown is going to be the time it waits on a single pattern to replay itself. On a multi-tier pattern, it's going to be before it goes to the next message. This is also where you can enable your email to alert you, or webhook out to alert you when this rule happens. So you have multiple sections you could do. You could play the raw audio files right here. You could play the trigger pattern you just created, or you can enable a random pool. The random pool is a new feature we just came out with that allows me to add multiple messages to a pool over here and play the lights. So I could choose what light pattern I want, and then when this message comes off, it's going to randomly pick from one of these files. So there's not going to be that easily recognizable pattern from the people that are hanging around your building to be able to notice that it's the same message going off every single time and no one's watching it. You could load this pool up with as many different ones as you want, so you could have 10, 20 different messages in here if you wanted to, that realistically give the people a hard time to figure out what you're actually going to play. We also have our multi-tier right here. Multi-tier, you could go just how it says with multiple tiers. So I could say add as many tiers as I want and go there. So I could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to play the pattern right away. I'm going to wait 15 seconds after my first message to go on to my second message. If it goes off, I'm going to start a 60-second timer, which is going to wait for me to revert back to message 1. If it's goes off again within that 60-second timer, it's going to go up to message number 2. Once message number 2 hits, you start the second timer, and you also have your cooldown for message number 3. Now, message number 3, let's say I want siren to go off 24/7. I could go and do this as a cooldown of 0, and it's just going to keep repeating until that alarm is shut off. I also want it to email me when it hits tier 3. I don't really care about tier 2, but once tier 3 hits, I need to know and I want to be alerted right away. So I could save that. Now I have a rule set that doesn't have a name or an output, but let's just say on alarm 2 with a 2. So now I can save that rule and I have my multi-tier set up. I do need to add some loitering files right here, but let's just do that really quick. And I would also re-enable audio on that. You also have one last option, which is coming out on our newest version of software, which I'm demoing right now, which is a SIP intercom call. You have the ability to call a specific extension in the event that this alarm goes off. So I could put this up at a front gate and set up an intrusion detection for cars. And as soon as a car drives into that area, I could tell my system to call the guard shack at this extension. Then once the guard answers, it's going to start the SIP DTMF stuff. In the default state, it's going to play the construction right here. But we could add keypad options that say, if they press number 3, maybe I want it to still play the construction, but I want to trigger my gate relay. And I could wire my gate relay up to the relay on board and trigger that relay. Or maybe I want key 3 to change it to a police pursuit. And then when they press 3, the lights are going to change on my unit to flash red and blue to get their attention and to do that. I'm able to set that for all the DTMF digits right here. So I have multiple options, 12 different options to actually choose what key I want to trigger which light pattern. Down under system, this is where you'd actually upload the files for your OTA updates. You'd upload it to the device, and then you're going to press the update file once it's up on there. Your import export, this is where you could actually export the settings of the card. This is actually very cool because the settings will actually export all the WAV files and everything you need to know to actually make this work. So when you re-upload it, any WAV files you had in it, any of your configuration, it's going to have everything you need. You don't have to upload new WAV files. You don't have to store them in a different place. You can copy it from one card to another because it's going to ignore the IP address. So you will always have to reset the IP address in that event, but it does have that right there. You have your system logs right here. You can enable logging to actually see what's going on in the system. It will also show you what's going on with the PBX and all your SIP stuff. So you could sort by that. You could sort by all your different rules. But it's very helpful when you're actually trying to set it up to a SIP server. Like I said, you have your user guide right here and your API guide right down there. And then the last one would be your factory reset. You could do a partial reset and keep the network. You could do a full factory reset, or your standard reboot option is right underneath here. And that is pretty much the audio card.